This is now a time for heroes, and we're going to hear from Andrew Horvath, Global Executive Chairman of Planet Power Systems.
Thank you, and it's an unusual way to do a speech. I thought today what I might do is depart from the whole hero thing and take some inspiration from the fine young people we listen to. So, Star Scientific, about 15 years ago, the shareholders asked us to form a foundation. And they wanted that foundation to primarily look at education and look at how we can increase science in schools. So we set up a program, and I think the prize was an Apple iPad back then. And this was, inspirational, whole bunch of schools, really, really good. And we thought we're going to get, the standard, hey, Bunsen burner, a bit of sulfur, whatever. The first prize winner was a 16-year-old girl who did a study on the generational DNA changes in a beehive. And we were like, okay, this is pretty good. The second one was the aquadynamics of 4 different types of surf wax in salt water. And they increasingly got better and better, and to this day, they still get better. 15 years later, we're still doing it. And we're still pushing, and they're just getting wilder and wilder with more computing power. The inspirational part of this, though, is that we then started to look at PhD candidates, because we figured these guys had done a lot of work. But we noticed that when you ask the universities, and a lot of the medical colleges, the PhD candidates, a lot of them didn't have the money to really research what they were doing. First one we chose, and I won't name her because I haven't asked her if I can say her name. The first one we chose was studying cerebral palsy. Now, cerebral palsy is close to my heart. Our daughter has cerebral palsy. She's a surviving triplet. She had a brain bleed 2 weeks after birth. She was very small. And we were told she wasn't going to walk, talk, she'd be institutionalised. And my wife on the way out was grinning, and I said, what are you grinning about? And she went, honey, they haven't met me. My child walks, talks, and graduated high school. So we went ahead and we said to this young lady, this PhD candidate, okay, you're doing this really interesting study to see if there's a causal link going back through the generations that would make someone predisposed to cerebral palsy if they were premature. All the doctors that we talked to said rubbish. It's just a brain bleed. The child's too small, they move, whatever, blood pressure raises, pop, that's it. And she went, no, I've really looked into this. So off she went, and she ended up proving that indeed there was a link through certain families that made certain children predisposed to cerebral palsy. She won the National Science Award. Then she came and spoke to your country, who did the exact same study, rang her up 9 months later and went, damn, you're right, we've seen the same thing. Sweden saw it, England saw it, and she kept getting awards. She did a lecture tour through here. Her research caused a modification in the way preemies are treated now so that cerebral palsy can be avoided. That work, we merely gave her the tools. We gave her some money, and as she put it to me, occasionally some grey-haired assistants, in like mentoring. That money that we put forward, we've estimated would have stopped hundreds of thousands of children suffering what my daughter suffers. And that we were very proud of. We then went on and thought that's been pretty good. That's number one. Picked another 2 scientists who were doing their PhD, and they said, you know what, we think we've worked out something to do with MS. Now, MS, as you would know, is an autoimmune disease. And, people who get MS gradually get sicker and sicker and die. And there's a lot of drugs they have to take and things to try and prevent it. In fact, sadly, I had a shareholder come from Connecticut who was dying just to see me during this trip, which was heartbreaking for me. This pair said, we believe that you actually have an MS event when you're very, very young, but you don't know it. And they believed that they could find a marker to indicate that. And if they could find the marker, they could then prevent the MS progressing because it hadn't gone full blown. They worked and they worked and they worked and they proved it. They also won the National Science Prize in Australia, but they also won 4 prizes from 4 of your most prestigious universities. They toured the US, they toured Europe, and now they're telling us that we're a tiny, tiny bit away from being able to identify and block MS from a simple blood test that they developed. So what I'm saying to you all is, I've heard a lot about let's back these fine young people, let's back this, let's back that climate movement, these things. What I'm begging of you is, take a small part of the funds you've got, gather together as a group, either ring up your university and say, we're interested in climate, whatever it is, find me a PhD student who hasn't got any funding and give them a chance. Go out to your high schools and get them back interested in science, because they're the kids that are going to solve the problem for their generation that we put them into. Right? So they're the kids we have to back. They're the only ones that are going to be able to do it. So I'm begging you, go out and really pull together as a group. If you're rich enough to do it on your own, do it on your own. Get out there and back those candidates who don't have it. And all you need to do, seriously, it's not a lot of money. It's lab time, computer time, some journals that they might have to pay $3,000 a year to get access to. And as they kept all telling me, a little grey-haired wisdom occasionally to get them back on track. So in saying that, I want to say one more thing before I kind of wrap up. My directors and I came here, and we're leaving here a lot smarter than when we came. And I don't think you can do better than that for a conference. So, thank you. Okay. I'm trying to think about what I can talk about now. How long have I got?
5 minutes.
Oh, 5 minutes. All right then. All right. Let's go back to Hero for a moment. One of the key things that we want to do with Hero is, as I've explained before, is power generation. But when we're building this new plant that we're doing now, this 100,000 square foot plant, I've ordered a space put aside, much to the annoyance of the chief scientist, for desalination. Hero is ideal for global desalination. It's zero emission, it can use flash desalination, which is way cheaper than RO, and the beauty of it is it doesn't leave brine to be put back in the ocean. The brine is dried. So you get you can actually extract useful stuff from it. The biggest problem with RO desal at the moment is it's wet brine put back in the ocean, supersalinates the ocean around the area and destroys everything in its sight. All the Gulf countries are suffering like crazy from this. They're all suffering like crazy. It's awful to watch. So we're working on this system literally now. We're going to step into it in the new plant in a far bigger way, because we want to run out power generation for existing coal, critical CO2 for new plants that we can literally put under your kids' preschool and you wouldn't know it was there, and desal. We think if we can solve energy and water, we've actually come a hell of a long way. And we can move the needle faster if we use Hero to do it. I know there are some people in the room that go, green hydrogen, all these things. Let me tell you quickly about green hydrogen. 15 gigawatts of green hydrogen has just been approved in Western Australia. 10 gigawatts of green hydrogen in Northern Territory. And today they've announced approvals for 50 gigawatts of green hydrogen in Queensland. Green hydrogen is affordable, it can be done as long as it's done on scale. And the United States has rooms to do it, South America has room to do it. A lot of countries like Germany is about to put down its hydrogen plan because they've finally realised that wasting all that wind energy is simply stupid. And they're going to monetize every electron and run it as hydrogen. So Hero is going to drop right in there and say, well, guess what, guys, we've got the perfect way to consume it. Because that's what's missing, is the market activator. And we have been just come out of Europe, my directors and I, and we've been talking to all these guys, Air Liquide, Engie, the IEA, we've had meetings with all of them and told them. And when I go home, I've been told that I'm now speaking at a parliamentary inquiry on energy to turn the energy in New South Wales around. So, yeah, I think that I think this conference has been brilliant. I'm definitely going to try and come back next year because I've made a lot of new friends here, and I'm really, really appreciative for Chip to convince me to come. finally, I made Chip an offer. We will back as hard as we can the creation of an R Day in Australia. We're just going to have to take the American bit out and make it Australian. So what we're going to do is create a sister R Day. So we can hope you guys can come across there and our guys can come across here, and you can start to expand the family. Okay, thank you.